Let's talk about something that's been quietly running the world pretty much behind the scenes for the last 50 years. It's a system built on oil, the world's most critical commodity, and right now, it's facing its biggest test yet. We're going to explore what could be the end of the petrodollar.
Think about it. For as long as most of us have been around, this one simple rule has been a constant. It's been the foundation of the energy trade, and it has shaped everything from geopolitics to the flow of money across the entire planet. So, what exactly is this rule?
And there it is. Sounds simple, right? But that one rule is incredibly powerful. It doesn't matter if you're in Brazil buying oil from Nigeria or Japan buying from the UAE. For decades, the transaction for the world's black gold has almost always been settled in good old American greenbacks. And trust me, this didn't happen by accident. It was a deliberate, strategic design.
And that leads us to the big question, the reason we're here today. After 50 years of pretty much total dominance, we're starting to see cracks in that foundation. Major global powers are starting to ask, hey, why are we still doing this? Which forces us to ask, is the petrodollar system finally starting to crumble?
Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal now, you have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to the beginning. How on earth did the US dollar get so tangled up with oil in the first place? Well, the whole story kicks off during a time of huge global financial chaos. So picture this. It's 1971. The US just announced that the dollar is no longer backed by gold. This was a huge shock to the system, and suddenly the dollar needed a new anchor to keep its top spot. That new anchor became oil. The U.S. hammered out a deal with Saudi Arabia, the king of oil exporters. The arrangement was basically, we'll give you military support, and in return, you'll price all your oil only in U.S. dollars. That deal set the precedent, and boom, the petrodollar system was born.
And here's why that was such a game changer. Because every single country on Earth needs oil, this system created a permanent, built-in global demand for US dollars. It forced every nation to hold large reserves of dollars just to buy the energy they needed to survive, keeping the dollar at the very center of the global economy.
So yeah, this wasn't just some dusty economic policy. It became a cornerstone of American economic and geopolitical power for decades to come. Let's break down exactly what kind of advantages we're talking about here.
This slide shows you the whole cycle, and it's a really powerful one. First, that constant global demand for oil means constant demand for dollars, which helps keep the currency strong. Second, what do countries do with all those dollars they have to hold? Well, they often lend them right back to the US by buying things like treasury bonds. This allows the US government to borrow money way more cheaply than other countries. And third, this entire loop just cements the dollar's status as the world's #1 reserve currency. It's a self-reinforcing system.
But, nothing lasts forever. The world today looks a whole lot different than it did in the 1970s. And for the first time in 50 years, we're seeing real, serious challenges to this system. The foundation is definitely starting to look a little shaky. And leading the charge, no surprise here, is China. I mean, think about it. They're now the biggest oil importer on the planet. Does it really make sense for them to conduct their most vital trade in the currency of their main geopolitical rival? Of course not. So they are actively pushing for countries to accept their currency, the yuan, for oil deals.
And this really shows you the before and after picture. The old way was simple and centralized. Everything flows through the dollar. The new emerging alternative is a lot more fragmented. It's a world where countries can trade directly with each other in their own currencies using new payment systems that completely bypass the US financial system.
Then you've got the whole geopolitical angle, which is a massive driver of this change. The US has often used the dollar's dominance as a weapon through financial sanctions. For countries like Russia, Iran, and others, this gives them a huge incentive to create a parallel financial system, one that's immune to that kind of American pressure. This isn't just about money anymore. For them, it's about survival and sovereignty.
So, with rising powers and all this geopolitical friction, it kind of sounds like the end is near, right? Well, not so fast. Before we go and declare the end of an era, we need a serious reality check.
Yeah, look at that number. Over 80%. Despite all the headlines, all the new deals, the vast majority of global trade is still done in US dollars. The challengers are absolutely real, but the dollar's dominance is, for now, an entrenched fact.
And the reason for that resilience is simple. The dollar isn't just a currency. It's the plumbing of the entire global financial system. The world's biggest and most important markets for just about everything, debt, stocks, commodities, are priced in dollars. Untangling all of that isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like trying to change the foundation of a skyscraper while you're still living on the top floor.
Okay, so if the dollar isn't going to just disappear overnight, what does the future actually look like? Well, this leads us to a few different scenarios that economists and policymakers are debating right now.
All right, so there are basically 3 ways this could play out. Scenario 1, things stay kind of like they are now, with the dollar on top, but its dominance slowly gets chipped away. Scenario 2, and this is what a lot of people think is most likely, is we slowly move to a multipolar world. You've got the dollar, the euro, the yuan, all playing in the same sandbox. And then there's scenario 3, the wild card. Some huge global crisis hits that forces a much faster, maybe even chaotic, shift away from the dollar. And look, this isn't just some abstract thing for bankers. This stuff matters to everyone. A major shift in this system, even a gradual one, would reshape how money moves around the world. It could affect everything from global trade and inflation right down to the interest rates on our own savings and loans.
And that's probably the best way to think about it. We're not talking about a single dramatic event. This is more like the slow, grinding movement of tectonic plates. The economic world order that we've known for 50 years is being rearranged piece by piece.
So we end up right back where we started. The petrodollar system gave America a massive advantage for half a century, but the world is changing. There's no doubt about that. The ultimate question isn't whether the system is being challenged, it clearly is. The real question is, can the US dollar adapt to this new multipolar world, or will the very foundation of its power slowly give way to whatever comes next?